Hi everybody, this is Dr. Cook. I am going to give you a little bit of instruction as to how I would like the outline and just to outline what we're doing for the rest of the week. So we are in week 3 and I want to go over some of the things where you should be at this point. Interview questions should be finished by now. However, a lot of people have not gotten the revisions approved, so I do want to see the revisions to your interview questions. A number of you had some problems and issues with them, but you have not sent them to me to look at. So please revise your questions and upload that to D2L. The thank you letter was also due. Most of you did a good job with that. That means everybody at this point should have completed his or her interview of the person giving you the information about the job. So that should be done. So the next step really is to work on an outline. Before we do this though, I just want to point out something. Over in D2L at the bottom, I did upload a link for sample papers, and it would be very important, if you have not already done so, you should open this up and have a look at it, because this will show you the format of how I want the interview report to be written up. So your first paragraph really is some background information about the person you interviewed. That's about the only place in this paper that you're going to talk about the person, because again, the focus is on the job, not the particular person. Because this is a report and not a paper per se, you're going to have then your categories are going to be in bold. You're going to have your category listed, and then you're going to have your paragraph about each of the categories. So we see that we had one, 2, 3. There's the one on communication. We have innovation and trends. The person didn't do ethics, clinical treatment options, and then the conclusion. So this will give you an idea of how to structure your interview report. Knowing that, this will also give you an idea on how to actually do the outline. So going back to week 3, if you scroll down to outline, there is, well, what we call a sample outline, but it's not exactly a sample. I'm going to download this so it's easier for you to see on the screen. Okay. So obviously you're going to put your name and the date. This does not have to be an APA. You do not need a title page or anything else. Your first paragraph is exactly the paragraph that you're going to have in your paper. So you should write it up as if it were the introductory paragraph of your paper. So at this point, you have to have already done the interview and know exactly what you're going to write. Then you're going to break it down into the different pieces. So category 1 was educational requirements. Then you're going to simply write a brief statement as to what will be discussed in that paragraph. Paragraph 2 is communication. Now remember, when we talk about communication, if you go back to the guidelines, you have to talk about written and oral communication. So these are the types of written communication. Those are the things that the person said. And then we have oral communication, and there are various types. So you're not writing incomplete sentences on your outline, but you're just giving some of the basic information of what it is that you're going to talk about in each of these paragraphs. Paragraph on ethics, there are 4 points that the person made, and these are the 4 points that you're going to put on your outline. So you're going to structure it just like it is here, where you have Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, and Roman numeral 5. Depending on how much information you have will matter on how you structure it. So this did not have a lot of information, so we just have A, B, C, and D. Communication had 2 parts to it. That's why we have an A and a B, but each part can be broken down. So there was probably not much to break down in each of these, and that's why the person only chose A, B, C, and D. Ethics is the same way, but when you look at advantages and disadvantages, one of the advantages is owning a home, and then they brought in some further detail. So if you're going to break it down, then you have to go from Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 to A or B, and then little Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, etc. If you're going to break that down even further, like on here, you would then do a number 1, 2, and 3. So use the outline here, this example, for you as a model. The last paragraph is how you're going to conclude the paragraph. And again, or conclude your paper. It should be the full conclusion. So you're writing a full introduction and you're writing a full conclusion. Make sure you look at the guidelines to what has to be in the introduction, and make sure you check very carefully of what has to be in the conclusion. Now, I'll review that right now with you. So the guidelines are found back in week 1. So if you go back to week 1 under interview report and then look at guidelines. But specifically, the introduction of your report will be an introduction of the interviewee. So that's the background information. Be sure to obtain background information such as education and years of experience. Then you have your 5 body paragraphs, which we just looked at. The 2 that are required are communication, both written and oral. So if you only address one, you're not getting full credit. You also then had to choose between either current trends or ethics. And when you sent in your questions, I revised those and told you, don't use the one, use the other. You can only use one. Lastly, the conclusion of your report will assess the overall value of the interview project to you and how the outcome or how the interview will affect your career goals. So that will be I. So in the beginning, you can say I interviewed, right? There is no first person in the rest of the report until you get to the conclusion, and then you can use first person again. So on your outline, you can use first person in the introduction part, you can use first person in the conclusion part, but the rest of the paper is in third person. You should not use the word you anywhere in the paper because you are not addressing me, the reader. You're going to just keep everything in third person. So in going back to our sample that's found on the right, you can see how the person used I in the beginning. I interviewed what I thought. The rest of the paper does not use first person in it. And then when you get to the conclusion, we're back to I. And it's important to look at how this is worded. I would like to say that I found my interview extremely informative and insightful. I gained firsthand knowledge of the field. So again, you want to say how that particular interview helped you and how this assignment helped you. It's almost like a reflection. And because it's a reflection, that's why you can use first person in the concluding paragraph. So in looking at the rest of the week, you do have some readings that I gave you on introductions and conclusions, topic sentences. The grammar topic was sentence faults, but you have 2 weeks to always get the grammar done. Thank you letter revisions. If you did not have a perfect thank you letter, I would like you to revise, even if you have a few mistakes, because I would, in the end, like you to send these thank you letters out. They really need to be perfect. So if you send them to me again, I will check to make sure that there are no more mistakes. And as long as they're good, then you can send it off. I know some people said they're happy with their grade, and I'm glad, but we do want to make sure that there are no mistakes because these are going to go out to professionals. If you did not pass the pronouns test, the retake for the pronouns test is due Sunday. Now, I do want to say a couple other things about the way the course is. Some people are working ahead, and I guess that's kind of good, but this is not a self-paced course, so we want you to kind of do things all at the same time. So this week was really the outline that is going to be due, and the outline's not due until Sunday. Some people already emailed me and said that they're finished the report. I need to look at your outline first, and you have to do all of the steps. So this is a course about writing and the writing process. So we want to do outlines, we want to do rough drafts, we want to have revisions, we want to do editing, we want to do all the process of the writing that would be done in a normal face-to-face class. So if you want to work ahead, that's fine, but make sure you do all of the parts. So I do have to look at your outline first. The outlines, although they don't count for points, the outlines do need to be approved. So we can't skip these processes. So those of you who have done the report, please submit your outline though, so I can look at your outline, approve the outline. Then you can do the report ahead of time. I will be happy to look at your work if you submit it early. I will not edit it. That's not my job, is to correct all of your grammar errors and spelling errors and things like that. I will give you feedback though. So if you do have some errors in grammar, I'll let you know where the errors are. If there are formatting errors, I will tell you all of that. I'm just not going to simply go through and correct every little thing for the paper. But I will give you feedback if you like. So make sure you look at the grammar topic for the week. Again, thank you letter corrections are being submitted, your interview report outline, and should you have failed, you will see the retake for the pronouns. If you didn't fail this, you won't see that. In looking at next week, which you can't see yet, we're going to be looking at how to format the paper itself, and really the interview report then will be due next Sunday. So you still have some time. I do want to look at the outlines, give you some feedback on that, because that's the next step, and then we can look forward to week 4.